back, and on the show today we'll talk gender equality in Mexico. How does culture relate to the issues of gender equality present in the Mexican society? We're looking for similarities between Mexican culture and how this can become an impediment to achieving gender equality within the society. Also, to be able to know the multiple opinions of the interviewees of the reasons why there is discrimination and gender violence in Mexico. So we have here Sebastián Boncaitz, a Mexican student who works constantly and can have an opinion on how women are treated in his work, and if there's discrimination and favoritism or not. Thank you for being here. So, do you consider that Mexico is unsafe for women?
It depends on many things. Your social class, the place you live in, the transport you use, whether your city is risky or not much, and many other factors. But overall, I believe that every girl, woman, has been afraid to live in Mexico at least once.
Wow, that's really something to be terrified about. So, do you consider that this relates to the misunderstanding towards the term feminist on the part of men? What do you understand by feminism?
It is empowerment of the woman who have felt inferior for centuries. However, women seek equality worse. I feel that there are certain acts that are not respected. For example, if they accept to pay the bill, to give them the place, etc.
That's a super interesting perspective. So, despite this, what difficulties or obstacles do you see in this society which is trying to become feminist?
The main obstacle is sexism. This is made because it predominates in lower classes, which complain more. The more education, there is less sexism. When a woman is more prepared, she can defend herself more before a sexist society.
Well, I believe this is a super important and true opinion because both women and men should be prepared for all the situations we might face out there. So, do you think that changing this sexist culture would reduce the violence and discrimination towards women?
Yes, because sexist culture has changed both women and men psychologically. Feminism opens up scenarios and makes us realize how much should we demand equity.
Taking into account your perspective, it is indispensable to know that gender equality is not only a fundamental human right, but a necessary foundation for a peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable world. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Great, so moving on. Regarding this topic, which relates directly to teenage girls because they're more likely to encounter the situations of risk and be more deprived to certain rights, but also they're more likely to be informed about the situation that women face every day. I wanted to hear the perspective of this Mexican student, Ana Paula Peñuñuri. It's great to have you, Ana Paula, so going straight forward, why do you think Mexican society hasn't achieved gender equality?
Thank you for inviting me. Well, the reason is because of our culture. People are ignorant and there is no education for all the kids in the country to stop this.
Of course, it's certain we should all know that having a quality education can provide us with different competencies, and without this education, it's difficult to acquire these competencies. Of course, it is possible, but it's more difficult. For example, acquiring this understanding before women and having a more open-minded perspective, and in this way opening up scenarios of the different situations that are currently happening in Mexico. So, regardless of this, do you consider that gender equality and culture are correlated? And if so, why?
Yes, they are. The ideologies are passed from generation to generation.
Yes, very true. And this is something we see present in Mexican society every day. So, do you think that the stereotypes that have been predetermined by society affect our judgment towards women?
Obviously, stereotypes are the way to informing ignorant people what to believe.
That's a great perspective. Well, we can see culture relates to the issues of gender equality present in the Mexican society, And this is why the issue must be eradicated, and that is only possible if the society sympathizes with the terrible situations that women face day by day. Thank you, Ana Paula, for sharing your perspective.
Thank you.
Next, I want to introduce Claudia Rocha. She's a Mexican woman that clearly relates directly to this topic because women are the ones who know even better the situation regarding violence towards women, deprivation of rights, unfair treatments, etc. And she can have an interesting point of view. Let's see. Welcome, Claudia. So, regarding what I just said, have you ever seen or experienced a situation of violence or discrimination against women?
Yes. Many times I have seen discrimination against women. One of them is that sexism continues to prevail, which shows that women are not able to perform jobs that men can. On the other hand, in houses in where men discriminate against women because of their status as women.
Interesting. Therefore, do you consider that gender equality and culture are correlated? Why?
I consider that gender equality and culture are closely related because depending on the culture of a country, there are beliefs, and these make it possible to change the way people think.
That is very true. So, do you think that changing our sexist culture would reduce the violence and discrimination towards women?
If sexist culture changes, violence and discrimination towards women will of course be changed, since men feel like the dominant sex and this is how they intend to treat women. Men do not consider themselves equal, and by changing this there will be equality, respect, opportunities, and security for women.
It would be amazing if the whole society could agree that gender-based violence is a retrograde issue that needs to be eradicated from the root because it's one of the most pervasive human rights violations that women face worldwide. Thank you for sharing your opinion, Claudia.
Thank you for listening.
It's impressive to know that so many people in society are being affected by gender violence, discrimination, and abuse. Of course, I researched, and according to the UN, around 49 countries still lack laws protecting women from domestic violence, which is something very serious since it leads just to the lack of control of society, and of course to gender inequality. And all this is directly related to Mexican culture since these acts are normalized within society, and before the people, these killings and acts of discrimination are not so serious when in reality they really are. Gender inequality should be a human problem because it affects the whole society. If society took this into account, then no gender would be superior. Everyone would have the same rights, and once and for all, people could enjoy a society out of prejudice and with a social balance. By raising awareness and creating this understanding among society, there's a possibility to restructure those erroneous beliefs, and in this way creating new beliefs that finally allow both genders to be seen as equals. Well, thank you so much for listening. I'll let you make your conclusions from now on. I'll see you next week. Bye.